What would 100 shares of Apple look like over a span of 20 years? A dividend investing strategy. Apple is going through it right now, headwind after headwind. Yet, as an Apple investor, I am not phased. If you want to know why I'm still bullish on the company, then watch the video I made very recently. Otherwise, you might write an outlandish comment such as, Apple is overrated. And if you do that, you probably don't even wipe your booty hole after dropping a ding-dong, and you enjoy walking around with a crusty butthole. So how could I even be offended? So what are the numbers that we are working with? Apple pays 96 pennies in dividends for every share that you own. And this payment is growing at a rate of 5.5% year over year. And they've been increasing the dividend for the past 12 years. And here's the kicker. Their dividend payout ratio is just shy of 15%. What that tells me is that the dividend is sustainable and healthy. And that Apple is being stingy because they can absolutely increase the dividend if they wanted to, or do more share buybacks. But that's for a whole different video. By the way, check out their revenue. In 2015, they posted $233 billion. That is absolutely bonkers. And every so often, they go through a period where the revenue declines ever so slightly, but eventually, almost always, Apple seems to find a way to increase the revenue. It's a remarkable company to say the least. This past year, Apple posted $383 billion in revenue. And yes, it dipped from the year before by negative 2.8%. And am I concerned? No. I am not. The same way I'm not worried about having a giant pimple on my face right now while being in my 30s. And here's the thing. When I was a teenager, I never got acne or pimples. So tell me why, as a full-grown adult, why do I get pimples now? If I could grow a beard to cover it up, I would. But I can't grow facial hair. So if you would be so inclined to give me some of your pube trimmings, I could probably make a beard out of it. And I would appreciate it. So how much would this experiment cost? Well, if you were to buy 100 shares of Apple at about $170 each, then it would cost $17,000 up front. And at that price point, you could install solar panels all around your house, which I don't know. I'm all about renewable energy and doing what I can. But isn't the maintenance and fees associated with solar panels really expensive as well? So if you have solar panels, let me know if it's worth the ROI. Please, I'm genuinely curious because sometimes I have this desire to just live off the grid and whatnot, but other times I appreciate living in the busy city. I think every man has that shower thought of just living in the mountains away from everything. But I fear I would just get bored of it somehow. I always need some form of entertainment. I'm the kind of guy that appreciates going to concerts, stand-up comedy shows, and eating out at restaurants. Which, by the way, there's this up-and-coming comedian. He's been around for a while, but he's just gaining popularity. His name is Shane Gillis, and I kid you not, he has the best Trump impersonation ever. The guy had me laughing out loud so hard. So if you need a chuckle, look into that on YouTube. What are the assumptions for this experiment? We will go ahead and assume that Apple's share price will grow at a rate of 8.5% year over year, and their dividend growth rate will be 5.5% annually. Also, the initial 100 shares of Apple will be all that we will be externally contributing to the portfolio, which means only the dividends will be used to buy more shares. So how big the portfolio gets is entirely dependent on Apple's performance. It's also contingent upon Huawei, Xiaomi, Sony, and all of the other phone brands losing market share. And by the way, I'm old enough to remember when everyone, and I'm talking about everyone, was rocking the Motorola Razr, which is like the iPhone of today. It was really popular. Then somehow Motorola fell off the face of the earth. Nobody uses their phones anymore. What a tragic story. So what happens after 20 years? Let's take a look at their dividend payout. In the first year, you're going to expect about $95 in dividends. Yeah. I feel you, it's not that juicy. However, as we fast forward throughout the years to year 20, you'll get a whopping $284 in dividends. Yeah, that doesn't really feel good either. However, if we take a look at the total return, that's 453% in 20 years. And when we break that down, it's just shy of a 9% annual rate of return. That feels a little better, I think. But the thing is, you don't invest into Apple for its current dividend yield. Rather, you invest into into Apple because of its growth potential and stock price. The dividend is just the cherry on top. So when we look at the portfolio valuation over the span of 20 years, it's not bad at all. Having your money invested into Apple grow from 17 grand to 94 grand is pretty good and juicy. Now let's look at the before and after comparison. In the span of 20 years, your initial 100 shares will grow to 108 shares. What? That's it? But I want to point out that Apple has historically done stock splits every so often, with the most recent ones being in 2020, which was a 4-for-1 stock split, and in 2014, which was a 7-for-1 stock split, which means for every share of Apple that you had back in 2014, you got 7 shares for it. So those 100 shares that you have in the beginning will probably grow to a much bigger number, although the dividend payout won't really change, so I guess this is all just kind of moot. The stock price should go from $170 a share to about $869 a share. And when we look at their past 20 years, the return on investment and total return is reflective of a high growth company. From 2004 to 2024, Apple stock had a total return of 41,555%. My goodness. However, I think right now, Apple is in that transitory period of becoming a mature business, but is flirting with remaining a growth tech giant, just like Microsoft, as they continue to find ways to stay relevant and innovative. To be honest, I think a 450% return for Apple in the next 20 years is absolutely bearish and lowballing. That's like posting your car for sale on Craigslist for about 10 grand, and some numbnut offers you $20 and 3 chicken eggs for it. So what do I think is going to happen? I think Apple's revenue will continue to grow at a mid to high single-digit rate going forward. However, they have a ridiculous amount of cash on hand, and their dividend payout ratio is about 14%. So I think Apple will increase the dividend payments by a lot more in the near future, and they will probably look to make an all-cash acquisition that makes sense if they can't grow their revenue organically, or they will just buy back shares at an aggressive rate. That's my hot take. I also think the dividend yield will grow faster than the 5.5% rate that we use in our simulation. I think it'll probably be closer to a 10% dividend growth rate. That's just my thoughts. And in contrast, their share price will probably only go up by 5% or so year over year. So, what do you think? Do you think Apple is done? Are they cooked? Let me know, because I think Apple is looking kind of cute at these valuations, especially for $170 a share. But that's just me. I could have my beer goggles on. Anyways, I will talk to you next time. Stay safe. Dividend compounders with cheese, signing out.